Engine Blast technical seminars are an Intertech production. For instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.
Very important for you folks who are transitioning from Visual Studio 2008. Remember, if you just choose ASP.NET website, it is not going to be empty. They are going to give you several starting files. So you'll want to be sure to choose that menu option that's immediately below website right here on the screen. As you can see here, it says ASP.NET empty website is the one you'll probably want to start with if you don't want to have it create a master page for you and use some of the login controls for you as well. You may want to just choose empty website. Or, you could choose ASP.NET website and then strip out some of the features that you don't want if you feel it's too much. Again, another choice is go ahead and run with the ones they give you. Especially if you're learning ASP.NET Forms, if you're brand new to it, it might make sense initially to go ahead and allow it to include those files just so you get the basic gist of ASP.NET. But if it becomes too big for you and too much to absorb at once, then go ahead and choose empty. Most of the labs in the course we have you choose empty just so we can start from scratch and see how we're creating things. We ultimately still touch all of the technologies that they give you when you choose an ASP.NET site, but it's just nice to see it from scratch and how you do that yourself. Okay, so I talked a bit about what was already in the menu system here. And of course, to create a web application project, it's a little bit different. This time we'll actually choose File, New Project. And then again, on the left side, we do have to choose which language we're working on. Is it going to be Visual C# or Visual VB or Visual Basic? And notice that we choose the web folder on the left side. And I know that's pretty faint on this screen here, but web is actually selected on the left side there. And then in the middle of the screen, we can see the many different types of web application projects that we can create. Again, notice that there's a web application that's selected right now, and then there's empty web application, which is about 2 more project types down. We've also got MVC2, which is bundled in and part of Visual Studio 2010. If you wanted to use MVC3 with the new view engine, like the Razor view engine, that's a separate download that you'd have to make from Microsoft, and it installs quite nicely. And then you could take advantage of that newer view engine. But know that MVC2 is included and it's bundled right here within Visual Studio 2010. We've also got other project types here, like notice the bottom one there, that ASP.NET Server Control. That's another chapter. It's chapter 4 in our course we'd normally cover. And that one is how you create your own custom web control. Let me go ahead and demo this a little bit before we just wrap up on this particular chapter. So in Visual Studio, as I said, we can create a brand new website. So I choose website, and again, on the left side, I have to be careful which language I choose. Now remember what I said about websites. You could have one page in C# and another one in VB. So when I choose C# here, and I choose empty website, that really isn't doing anything for me, okay? It's not giving me a starting C# web file. It's not giving me anything because I'm choosing empty. This one's going to be called Website 53. Why is it choosing 53? Because I've got 52 other garbage websites created in this student folder. So let's just go ahead and create it. There's my website, and it did give me a web.config file as well. This is a starting XML file just locking us into .NET 4.0. That's cool. And I'm going to go ahead and right-click and add in a new web page. I'm all about the right clicks. Nobody uses their right mouse button enough. I'll go ahead and add a web form. Notice the default.aspx. And I do have a little checkbox here as well, whether or not I want to have it in a code behind file. Note again, be sure you choose your language on the left side because websites can have multiple languages. This is going to be a C# file that is going to have a code behind. So I'll go ahead and click Add. And here we go. I have default.aspx, and I have its code behind file, which is default.aspx.cs. This is where I'm going to create my event handlers for the particular page. Note that this icon for the website itself is not specific to C# or VB. A website is just a loose collection of files. It isn't even a project name, right? It's just, yep, whatever's in this folder, that's the way it is. Notice we don't have a references folder either. If I did add a reference, because I can still right-click and add a reference, let's say I go ahead and add a reference to a .NET component here. Let me scroll down on the list. Oh, let's choose something else here. System.data.oracle client version 4.0. I'll go ahead and add a reference to it. Again, there's no references folder, so where's it added? Well, if it was my own custom DLL, it would be in a bin folder, but instead now, because it is in the GAC, it goes ahead and adds this entry directly to my web.config file this way. I can still go ahead and right-click, add another item, and choose VB. And maybe this time, I don't want to have a code behind file. I'll just uncheck that box and click Add. Now, this one has got double duty difference here, because now it doesn't have a code behind file, and it is using VB. So, for example, if I drag and drop a button onto the form, and then I go ahead and double-click it to create a click event handler, notice that here's my normal HTML markup at this location. Up here is where actually my event handler is. So for example, I could go ahead and type in some source code here. Button1.text equals changed at server. So here I'm actually changing the text that appears on the actual button. Mind you, there is no such thing as a text property on a normal HTML input button control, but this is a web control that is going to be converted into normal HTML. Like this ASP:button, a web browser doesn't know what the heck to do with that, but we don't have to worry about that because when it's sent to the actual browser, it'll be converted into normal HTML. And so I can go ahead and right-click, view in the browser, and it prompts me here about, do you want to save all your changes? And I'll say yes. Web server starts up down here in the tray, officially called the notification area, and the page should appear with that button control. I'm running IE9. I can right-click, view source. This is our secret weapon, as all web developers know. Find out what's really being sent to the browser. And you can see that ASP:button was actually converted into normal HTML so that every browser can display it. This view state here is how ASP.NET tracks the state of all of our controls. And this is how it actually manages some of the different events. Now if I click on the actual button, it posts back to the server, runs that little function, and comes back to the client. And it changed the text on it to change its server. Remember, that source code that was normally up above here with my event handler got stripped out before it was sent to the browser. We don't want to show our source code. We don't want to show our cards, right? And besides, we want it to be less content going to the browser. So this script area with the run at equals server is actually going to be pulled completely out of the page before it's actually sent to the browser. So this is a website. A web application project is a little bit different. If I go ahead and choose to add a brand new project, you can see that, again, we have to choose the correct language that we want to work with. Notice VB has web, as well as C# has web. So we have to lock into one of these guys. Now, if I choose to create a web application project and I don't choose empty, let me just show you what you get for starting files. Oh, okay, we're going to create this one called Website 53. This will be in the Visual Studio Projects location. Again, behaving like a project. I'm adding this to my solution so I can have both open at the same time in this particular solution. And you can see they're both available in the Solution Explorer. Now notice right away, I've got a lot of starting files here now with this web application project. Like for example, in the accounts section, I've got change password.aspx, change password success, login, and register. And I can go ahead and open up any one of these guys, and you can see all the content that they're giving me right out of the box. Now this might be a lot for somebody to absorb if they're first learning ASP.NET, and that's, you know, at the same time, if you have some experience with .NET, this is going to be perfect for you to get you up and running. Note here's the register page, right? Let me go ahead and close all but this. There we go. Again, this is just another one of the pages that we get. As well, take a look at the scripts. They've given me jQuery version 1.4.1, but I can always go ahead and upgrade that to a newer version like 1.6.2 or something that might be available for jQuery. jQuery, of course, is just a JavaScript library. Nice thing about the jQuery library that's included with Visual Studio is they've given us the minified version, which is the one where all the spaces and enter keys and everything else, escape sequence characters, whatever, have been stripped out. Not the escape sequence characters, but anyways, we stripped out all of the extra white space and it is much smaller to download. And then we have the VS Docs version, which gives us the IntelliSense right within Visual Studio to show us what menu options are available and such. Understanding jQuery is vital for all of today's web programmers. I don't care what programming language you're using or what technology, you're probably going to be wanting using jQuery. It saves you a ton of programming, even for just standard JavaScript and maybe Ajax programming.
For more free learning resources and to see the latest lineup of our instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.